Well, we are here with our third podcast today. And you're probably wondering why we're doing so many at once. Well, we get behind, and then also these come out once a week. And so you can get the audio of this by going to iTunes and downloading Leadership with Vision and signing up to get them that way. And actually, you can listen to us at double speed. That means you get through it in half as much time, and probably get as much out of it. We are glad to be with you again, and Jeff's going to kind of give you say hi to you to get started, and then we're going to talk about how to put into practice Paul's missionary methods.
Well, it's a blessing to get to be with y'all right now, and as of now, we've discussed in the previous two podcasts about Paul's missionary methods. And so we began about the chief cities and what are the chief cities and why we should go there and begin our ministries there. Then we went from there into open doors, and we went to multiple different areas. We had great questions. We appreciate those questions. We always enjoy questions, the interaction there. And we're looking forward today to not just speaking about the methods of Paul's methods, but how to put them into practice. So we will begin our journey this evening.
We're glad to have you with us, and Adam Ragsdale's back with us. And Adam, we sure appreciate you being loyal. We do take baths and change clothes, but we've done this all in one afternoon or one day. And so today we want to talk to you more about how to go about putting Paul's methods into practice today in the world we live in. And so we're going to discuss that with you. And feel free to invite other people to listen and discuss and ask questions anywhere along the way. And we'll get sidetracked or whatever we need to do to talk to you and carry on a conversation with you. Well, the very first thing would be, since we talked about principal cities and a strategic city, you need to pick a city. So, Jeff, let's talk to him about how to go about picking a city.
So we spoke about the chief cities, and when you're going to pick a city, I would say pick something, we'd say a minimum of 200,000 people. And so you're going to be looking for not necessarily the capital city of the country, but a larger city in the country. If you could find a city of 1 million people, that would be phenomenal. If you could find, there's very large cities. But we're talking about something where a lot of people are going. There's universities, people are moving that way. Don't look for a small village. Don't look for something small. Go for something a little bit more impacting in a big city.
So if you're an American, you understand that every county has what we call a county seat. Every state has a state capital, and then you have the major cities. So you have places like New York City and Los Angeles and San Francisco, and you have Chicago. Then you have Atlanta, and you have Charlotte, North Carolina, and you have Montgomery, Alabama. Birmingham, Alabama is not a capital, but principal city. You have New Orleans. You have Shreveport. So you could go around, and there's all these larger places. So to do that, let me just give some suggestions, and Jeff and I'll try to bat it around, questions and comments. But I'd start with a list of the 100 largest cities in the world. I'd get that, and I'd study that. Lots of them are in China, these large cities. There are cities that are larger than entire countries. And so I would definitely study them. Then if you've picked a region of the world, then I'd look for the major cities there. If you pick Peru, pick one of the major cities there. Maybe not the biggest city, but a major city where people are going to. So you're going to spend a lot of time praying, a lot of time researching, finding out how many missionaries are there, what's already going on there. I wouldn't step on the toes of another missionary if there were. You're in a city of 1 million and there's already dozens of churches there and a Bible college and a bunch of things going. I might not go to that city because there's still plenty of places. You want to say something about that, Jeff, before I move on?
No, I would just say, yes, sir. I'd say, when we first went to Argentina, a lot of missionaries, they were in the capital city of Buenos Aires, which has 14 million people. And we looked at that city, which would be more like a province, and in that there's several different districts,
a state,
many different smaller cities inside of that. And almost all of the missionaries were on the northern side. They were in the northern side of the city. But below the capital, the capital down south, there was several cities equaling 5 million people in these several cities and no missionaries were there. And so I chose one of those cities just to avoid. We're in competition with the devil. We're really not in competition with the other missionaries. And so I'd be very careful about choosing right down the road from another missionary when there's cities all over, hundreds of thousands, and no one preaching the gospel that we know of. There's millions and nobody preaching. So I would choose probably one of those a lot quicker.
And so you're going to look for a city where you want to work, which meets the things that you're looking for, a place where people are coming to, a place where you could start multiple churches, where a place where maybe you could spend a lifetime. How long does it take to reach 5 million people? Well, the truth is you can spend your entire life there and never have to leave that city. You might move all around that city. I was in a city, a small city, 1 million people, and honestly, spent 18 years there and never stepped on myself. And there are still tons of places in that city that need new churches, and that city continues to grow astronomically. So every year there are more people there. So pick your city. That's the first step. So no one's made a comment, so I'm going to move on to the next thing in our list here, unless you have a comment, Jeff.
No, sir. Let's go ahead and jump into the next one, which would be start your base church.
So,
first church.
You want to start a church. It's going to be the model church, the base church. It's probably where you will do the majority of your work for quite a while. So you'll be, this would be, for me, it was the Hunter Church. Another man had already started it, and it wasn't very large yet. And I took over that church, and from there I raised up a whole bunch of guys and trained a whole bunch of guys. You're just going to need a church to show people what it's like. I want that church to be so full of passion and so full of fun. So full of fun. So full of fun. I want it to be like I want them to just love that. And so we began working what I would call our base church. That's the first one. I never want that to be the only church I start. I want to start more.
Okay, I would say, Pastor, when we talk about that, there's a couple more people who joined us. Kyle Coker, welcome to this Facebook Live. Appreciate that. Jonathan Anderson down in Mexico, thank you so much. And we appreciate those that are listening, that are watching. So as we start this, we're finding our city where we're going to go into, the country where the Lord's leading us. We're starting our base church. And then from there, we're going to go. And I remind you what Pastor said before, this isn't necessarily a mother church, more of a model church, meaning that this is a church we're going to start that's going to show other churches how we do church. These guys that are going to leave from there so they can know how a church runs, how it starts, and how we do the singing, how we lead the ushers, and how we do absolutely everything. So a model church. And then from there, then we go into the next one, Pastor, be starting a place and among a people that you'll be able to reach others.
Now, I want to say to you about this. Mother church. Anytime you have to define terms. So some people by mother church mean like the Roman Catholic Church, where all the money gets sent back to it, all the decisions get made. I don't believe that at all. I do believe in a mother church in the sense of giving birth to daughter churches. And so a new church we start is not a sister church, it's a daughter church. We are starting another church out of our church to be able to reproduce and reach more people, and we want that church to start more. So what you want to do is you want to start in a place among the people that will be able to reach others. So I suggest you don't go to the very rich, you don't go to the very poor. We call it the aspiring class. You want to go to a group of people who I call them lower middle class, upper lower class, and who really want to do something with their life. I want a place where I can get young people. So if you travel to the principal independent Baptist colleges in America, and I am independent Baptist with no apology for that, and if you travel to an independent Baptist college, you're going to find most of the people there aren't driving Beamers. Most didn't come in Rolls Royces, and most didn't come in big fancy cars. They are just plain regular people. Lower middle class, upper lower class, maybe middle class, very few rich people. And so, not to say that God won't use rich people, but typically rich people and their families have plans for them, and they don't do that. So I want to go to an area, principally this is not right, it's just an opinion, but I principally want to go to a place where I can find people that want to be in the ministry, and I could train them to go out and be in the ministry.
So everybody knows this, but just a quick reminder, throwing it in here. 3 different classes of people. There's the lower class, the middle class, the higher class. There's 3 in every division: the higher class, the higher middle class, the higher lower class. And so you go in these 3. We're talking about when we're going to start a base church, we're going to move into the middle class. So that would be into the middle, anywhere in the middle lower, or even the higher, but the very low, the middle, right in that area. That's what we want to go to, where people, they're able to, they want to learn, and that's probably our best class. In fact, Adam asks a question. I think that this kind of goes along with our question now. Once you've picked a city, how do you choose a community within that city for your base church? And so, Pastor, maybe you can...
Well, I think that you want to find a place that people are going to be able to do a work and want to do a work. So if you go to the extremely wealthy places, like in our area, there are houses that go for $1 million plus. And if you go door knocking there, they're not going to let you in. They don't have time for you, and their kids' lives are all planned out for them. They have no desire to do what we're talking about doing. It's harder to get a rich man to heaven than it is to get a camel through the eye of a needle. And the common people heard him gladly. So we know that poor people tend to listen better. So I'm going to go to a place I think I can reach them. If they're too poor, they can't support their pastor. If they're too poor, they can't support their church. If they're too poor, it would go the other way. So I still want to reach those people, and I do that with mission outreaches and other things from my church. But I want to work at getting a place where, kind of like regular people, like most of you listen to me, you're working class, blue collar people. Not as many of you would be white collar people. Not as many as you had a brand new car given to you when you turned 16. Maybe your daddy helped you get a piece of junk car or a $3,000 car when you turned 16. Maybe he told you you had to work to save your own money, whatever. So those are the people most likely that you're going to be able to work with and use. And so start your church in an area like that. In America, I'm talking people in the $30,000 a year range, not the $100,000 a year salary range. People not making just bare minimum wage where they can't make it, but people not so rich that they won't listen.
So we're talking about the methods of Paul, and we started out that he chose these chief cities, and we went all the way down. We're just talking about how to put them in practice right now. And so we pick the principal city, we start our base church, we know the kind of people that we want to work with. So we jump on down a little bit further, and we go immediately beginning to train the people, to disciple the people that are saved in personal discipleship. And that's where we jump off. Everybody gets an opportunity. We want everybody's got their level. Maybe they only come up so far, but everybody that gets saved has a right to learn the gospel, has a right to grow in Christ, and that's what we want to do. We want everybody to have that opportunity in some form.
So we're going to disciple everybody. I hope you got that. We're going to get everybody involved. That's discipleship that is new convert level, brand new Christian, teaching them the basics, teaching them about church attendance and prayer and tithing and baptism and all of those basic things to get them started, how to read their Bible. That's not training to be a leader. So first thing we do is we get everybody in the basic training. And as we're training them, we begin to teach them that it's their responsibility to reach their own people with the gospel. So we're now going to start doing everything we can to get this core group of people. There's some starting to really get excited and learn. And now we're teaching them to go find their friends and bring them. They're starting to bring their friends, and they're hungry to know more and more Bible.
So this is the beginning. We have what we use at least in our philosophy, at the top of the funnel, where we get all these people together, an evangelistic effort, or you're starting the church or whatever. You get all these people, you get them excited. When people start to get saved, it goes down, and you want everybody to learn. You want everybody to grow. In discipleship, that's where they can learn that they must read, they should be reading their Bible faithfully, they should be giving, they should be faithful to church, all these different things. And Obviously, as time goes down, there's going to be some that stand out more, that they want more, they desire more, they're around more. Those are going to be the leaders. But everybody has a right. We want everybody to know, hey, it's your responsibility to reach your family members, to reach your neighbors, to reach your friends. So everybody's going to be growing. We want everybody discipled. Everybody has an opportunity to grow.
We're making it exciting at church. It's the most fun thing they've ever done. They're singing songs to Jesus. They're learning about salvation. They're hearing the good news. They're enjoying church. So I'm working on making that happen. Now, people have started coming regularly, and they're needing more. So they're going through basic discipleship. Then we start like a nighttime Bible Institute there at our local church, where we just going to take them a tad further. This isn't yet Bible college. It's just a lot deeper. So maybe now we start book studies or church polity or hermeneutics or Baptist distinctives, and we work them through so that they are starting to grow. Out of this, there are people that take regular discipleship, they stop, and then there's people that take these further classes that would help them be better disciples, better deacons, better of everything like that. Some are eventually going to get trained to be pastors, but right now I'm just trying to get all my people trained to do as much for God as they can possibly ever do.
So the next step, obviously, we're going to go from there to a program and to a Bible college. But as Pastor said, we're starting out with that Bible Institute. Anybody, so it goes down from all these people that are coming to that are interested, that get saved, to being discipled and that are growing. And we want to give them those tools. I mean, do you have something in place right now? If you're a missionary on deputation, be collecting all those different things so that when you do get to the field, you have a program of discipleship. You know what you're going to do. You have those lessons ready so you can begin to prepare right now to know exactly what you're doing when you get over there. Everybody can grow if you'll take the time, and if you'll teach them, give them that opportunity.
So now I've got people coming to church. They're going through discipleship. We've got them coming to the nighttime institute. They're coming to 3 services a week. That's what I'm really going to push to have. And then they're coming a couple of more nights a week to Bible Institute. So now the Bible is just everything. And so our church begins to develop all the outreach programs: soul winning, vacation Bible school, Sunday school, young couples, marriage retreats, all of these things. And I'm training my people how to do all these works and how to run everything, so that as much as possible, I have everybody involved in ministry. So there's the guys like, I have my Sunday school class, and I'm a part of the soul winning things that are going on. And hey, I am discipling people, and I work in vacation Bible school, and I help with the young couples, and I help with marriage counseling. So in other words, I'm training everybody to do as much as I possibly can.
Okay, let me say very quickly, Pastor, before we move on, what are some of the things in the church that people that do want to become leaders, they do want to grow, what are some of the things that we could say? We have at Vision some teachers workers meeting, some of the things that they can use.
You know, we've gone over this before, but I think it's good to re-mention it. For example, we have Sunday school, and in Sunday school we have all kind of classes. And within the last 2 weeks, we're starting more classes. We're about to move into our building. We're getting more people trained to be Sunday school teachers. At 4:20 on Sunday afternoon, we have our teachers and workers meeting. Church will start at 5, and we meet for about 40 minutes. No, 25 minutes. We meet with our people and we go over what's going on. Right now, Sunday, I taught on how to know the difference between the church and Israel, because when you study the Bible, you're going to need to know that. So teaching them how to study the Bible. And so then we have deacons and training meeting, where we teach men how to become deacons and what it means to be a deacon. And so we're working our way through that. So got deacon and training meeting, we got teachers and workers meeting, we have men's fellowship, women's fellowship, we have the guys that lead the soul winning on Saturdays. We have as many people involved in Sunday school as we can get. We have everybody working. In fact, it's our teachers and workers meeting. We'll have somewhere between 50 and 75 people come to that meeting.
So we created an atmosphere that if somebody wants to serve God, they want to take the next step, then they can automatically jump in. And many times, listen, when you're going to be a missionary, you're going to go over and start something. Do you have a atmosphere? Do you have something created that if somebody wants to take the next step If they want to serve God, then what are they supposed to do? Well, say, hey, jump into discipleship. Hey, man, start being faithful to church. Hey, start coming with me on, running out and visiting people. Hey, there's a teachers and workers meeting. You create this atmosphere, this environment, so when people are ready to go to the next step, they're ready for it. Well, we move from there and then we go into the Bible college. Pastor,
Before we go to that, I'm not in charge of our discipleship, and I'm not really even doing the discipleship. So somebody in our church is in charge of discipleship, and somebody else is in charge of ushers. So you're making all these ministries and you're getting everybody involved. Before we go on, Bob Ford has joined us. I'm glad to see that he's there with us. Brendan Wong is here with us. We're glad to have him joining us. So now we want to talk about a Bible college. Now, to me, I want to have the Bible Institute at my church, and I want it to be for laymen. I want it to be for the guys that are going to stay in the church, and they're not going to be necessarily going to be doing full-time work. And everybody's worthy and everybody's great, but they all want to learn a little bit about the Bible. So we do the nighttime, but then we have Bible college. Now, Bible college is for the guy that's going to be a preacher. He is going to be a pastor, a missionary, and so we want to have a Bible college. And I'm going to do that as well, so well, that I will want my sons to graduate from there. I want it equivalent to anything you could get in the United States.
And we do that by way, and I know there's others, and I want to encourage you, jump on worldevangelism.net. You'll find out there's a lot archived there. There's a lot of good articles, the podcast. In that we even discuss of some of the things about a Bible college, to have as many credits as a Bible college would in the United States. It's sad that missionaries would say on a mission field, the people here, they'll never have a good education unless they go back to the United States. That's sad. You're the one there. God is sending you there. Make it just as good, if not better, than a Bible college in the United States. Have everything prepared. Have everything ready. In the Bible college, as far as the credits, as far as the classes you're going to teach, man, you're going to end up at your teaching, and you're going to have maybe some other guys that are teaching the Bible college at first. Later, you're going to turn that over to where the graduates are going to be the teachers. But you can make this good. You can make this first class. You can make this the best possible way. Pastor, we have a question from our friend Brendan Wong. Let me go ahead and read that. How do you choose what to cover in the church Bible college? What order and what issues? How long and how often should you teach those different things?
Well, church Bible college is not probably what I do. So typically what I'm going to have is a Bible college. And so when you say church, that's more like what I'm going to do
Bible Institute.
For the Bible Institute. The Bible Institute, I'm going to take them through hermeneutics and Baptist distinctives and book studies and all the things that would help them become the best possible Sunday school teacher and all that. The other college, I'd take every Bible college I could get a hold of. I'd get all their catalogs. I'd look at what they teach, and I'd figure out what parts of that I could teach. I mean, I want my students to have gone through basically every part of the Bible, minor prophets, major prophets, Pauline literature, Pauline epistles, the books of the law, history in the Old Testament. I want them to go through the different parts of the systematic theology that you might teach in a place. I want them to go through everything so that when they sit down and talk to somebody, the missionary doesn't think that the guy who I'm trained is dumb or less prepared. I want them to be very well prepared in everything by the time they finish their 4-year degree with us.
So I would say I would agree that there's a big difference, at least in my mind. It might be a matter of semantics for some that are listening. There's a big difference between a Bible Institute and a Bible college. And so we want the faithful people of the church to go to Bible Institute. They can learn, they can grow, and they can do more. But the Bible colleges are for those that are totally sold out. They're surrendered, they're committed. They're desiring to go into ministry with their life, however that looks like in your country. And so we do want to make a difference, or I believe there's a difference. We want to plan that well. Well, here's another question, Pastor. If there's only 1 or 2 people, would you still call it a Bible college from the pulpit? I think we kind of answered that.
I don't even call it anything from the pulpit. In other words, what would happen is if I had 1 or 2 people, they'd be studying with me. I would still try to fix up things where I took them through the training in a systematic manner. I would start with, how do you disciple? How do you win souls? How do you do Sunday school classes? And I'd teach them everything about doing the ministry. Then I'd work them through it, and I would keep a record so that they can graduate, so that they can feel like I accomplished the job. I would sit down with them and I'd say, before it's over, you're going to go through all 128 hours of school, and it would be equivalent to what someone else would do. I'd give them homework. I'd give them books to read. I would do the whole 9 yards. And I wouldn't refer to it as anything. I'm really not promoting it. And so what happens, if a guy wants to be in a ministry, he'll come to us. It doesn't need a name, but I do think you need to keep records. And I think people need to feel the sense of accomplishment that comes with you having given them classes and knowing what you did with them. So, they did take a class on Introduction to the New Testament, Introduction to the Old Testament. They did take a class on biblical counseling. They did take a class on the book of Romans. They did take a class on eschatology, things to come. They did take a class on all of these different things, and it worked out to be 128 hours. And so at the end of that time, we'll have a graduation for them, and slowly this thing could grow. But in the very beginning, we didn't actually have a college. We just did college. So we didn't talk about it. You don't have to. And then people always say to me, well, who accredits your college? And I said, my students do. When they go out and do the work and they know what they're doing, everybody will figure out, boy, those guys were well trained. So that's kind of where I'm headed with that.
Okay, Pastor, from there we move on. We're talking about the missionary methods of the Apostle Paul. And we started out from the chief cities, the open doors. We went all the way through, putting into practice now some other things. So what would you say a lot of times we'll speak of being absent from there, or the planned absences?
Well, I think that along the way, as soon as you get a preacher, he needs to test his weapons. So he needs a Sunday school class. That's the main thing. Get him started with a Sunday school class. If he can't build a Sunday school class, he's probably not going to be able to do the rest of it. Then I would say, what I want to do is I want to get him ready to preach, and I want to teach him, and then I just want to not be there one Sunday. And I'll do that by having another place to preach, and he'll have to preach. I need him to preach because I'm not going to be there. And so I'm going to tell him, man, I got to preach this other place. You're going to need to preach. Let's practice your message. Let's work on your message. Let me help you get the outline. Let me help you do with all the things you got to do. So I'm going to set him up to be a success. I want to bless him, and I want to be a blessing to him. And so I'm going to set up everything I can to help him in every way I can so that he can be blessed and have a blessing. So sometimes I'm just going to come to church late and see if they'd start if I wasn't there. So I will get to church late on purpose. And if he didn't pick up and run it without me, then he's not ready to be a leader. I'll warn him that you're supposed to start on time. You don't wait on me, blah, blah. And so this planned absences, I'm going to leave to go on furlough, and I need to know, can he handle it? Will he handle it when I'm not around?
Okay, we have Dustin Brown joining us. Pastor, maybe you can go back. Jonathan's got a question. I think it goes with what you've already talked about. If I teach through a book of the Bible verse by verse on Sunday, should I give them credit for that in the Bible college?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. I think that they need test and homework and books to read and study. And so what I would do in preaching, I don't count that. That's extra. And so they ought to be stronger and growing more because of that. But again, let me say, that's opinion. I mean, I think if you felt like, that's enough to count, then I think that'd be okay. I just wouldn't count that. I think that if church people found out he got college credit for just going to church, that I'll be like, that can't be much of a college. And a lot has to do with appearances. People have a negative attitude towards preachers. In America, they have a negative attitude, and overseas. In America, do we really work? In America, is what I do important? Salaries tell you they don't think it's important. The way they listen tells you they don't think it's important. So overseas, they really got that attitude. And so they respect a guy that's going to real school. So if you do anything that makes it look like it's not real school, I think you hurt them.
Part of the Bible college training would be after they come to a point, there's a lot of practical, and especially on the mission field. As Pastor already said, we're doing these planned absences. And I do remind you, you will be leaving one day. no matter if it's sickness or furlough or death or getting kicked out or whatever it is. So these planned absences, these are like practice, for pre-game, for the big tournament. You have to have those. Those are very, very important. Well, Pastor, after that, we'll go to maybe some of that delegation that we talked about before. Never do for them what they can do for themselves. So what are some of the things that these men, they're specifically the guys who are training for ministry, some of the things that they can do that we don't necessarily need to do for them?
I think they can do everything. So get somebody to teach them how to lead singing, get somebody to teach them how to play the guitar, get somebody to teach them how to play the piano, get somebody to teach them every ministry in the church. Let them do Sunday school. I never did a vacation Bible school in Peru. Not a one. We had them, but I didn't do them. I would go sometimes and sit in the back. The first few times I went and actually helped run it from the back. But the thing is, they did the Bible school. People would come to me and say, I want you to disciple me. And I'd say, I tell you what, let me come over and I'll be at your place on Tuesday at this time. And I would go to talk to them on Tuesday at that time. I would get there and I would take somebody with me. And I'd say, now, I'm not going to be able to come again, but this guy's going to keep it going with you, because I've got to have other people doing stuff. So, you got to have in mind you're leaving, and you got to tell them you're leaving, and you got to get them ready for you to leave. And you got to realize there's so many places you can start churches in your city and in your country. There's so many places you can start training centers. You can start a training program in other parts of the world. So you don't do what they can do. So as soon as possible, they can be teaching classes. As soon as possible, they can be doing the marriage counseling. I want them to do it. So no telling how many people got married in Peru using my wedding vows, and I was sitting there watching the wedding take place. Because what is more important, me baptizing or me teaching a guy how to baptize? Me doing the Lord's Supper or teaching another guy how to do the Lord's Supper? Somebody was excited. One of our students just did the Lord's Supper. And somebody came up to me afterwards and said, isn't that something? No other church could you go into and be trained and see a young man be able to do it like that. That's our goal.
Amen. So a missionary, your goal is you are working yourself out of a job. And that does not happen without those planned absences. That does not happen without giving the delegation, without turning things over. And I remind you, we do not delegate just to give so that we can become bums. We don't have to do the work. We delegate because we want more work done, because we want them to learn how to do it, and because we are preparing them for the future. Listen, if somebody doesn't do well by leading singing or by preaching or by doing a Sunday school class, it's not their fault. It's your fault as the leader. You're the one that God has sent there to train them, to help them. And so many times we think that delegation is, let's throw it to them. And boy, they're a horrible song leader. Well, help them be a good one. They're a bad teacher. Well, help them be a good one. That's your responsibility. That's my responsibility as a leader trainer, to make them the best that they can be. Well, Pastor, I think we're about on time with our podcast once again.
He is the one that keeps us on time, isn't he? I appreciate you listening, and I really appreciate the guys coming in and discussing it with us. I wish there was a way we could tell you when we would be doing more stuff. Possibly tomorrow we can do a couple of more. Maybe we'll do some in Spanish. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I've been kind of yawning, but I'm not really sleepy, I guess. But anyway, I'm excited about talking to you and excited about what God's doing in your ministry. I think it's exciting that all of you are on the field. You're seeing people saved, you're seeing lives changed, and you are the man, and you're living the dream, and I am so happy for you. Learn that language, learn that culture, start those churches, start a lot of churches, start a training center, a Bible college, and let God do big stuff with you. You are the man, and I am so excited we get to talk to you.
Well, God bless you greatly. Jump online, worldevangelism.net, and you can find a lot of these archived. iTunes, Leadership with Vision. You can find a lot of these archived, as well as a lot of good information. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen with us, to us, and God bless you greatly. We shall hear from you, see from you the next time.
Thank you very much. Is there a way to give a day notice when the next scheduled one will be?
There should be.
Well, there should be, but who has any idea when the next one will be?
We will try to do that.
We'll try to figure out a way to get you more in line so you'd know. I apologize. It's that I travel a lot and Jeff travels a lot, and we like to do them together. And so that's why we don't always do it as well as we could. Go to worldevangelism.net, find more information. Thank you for all you're doing. Hey, would you tell them about the summit real quick? Because anybody here, and we'd like them to come to the summit.
Yes, sir, very much. December 29th, 30th, and 31st. That's last Thursday, Friday, Saturday of the year. And we will be having the Our Generation Summit here in Atlanta, the Atlanta area, first time. And we are very much looking forward to it. I would love to invite you. Jump on visionmissions.com and /events. You'll find out more information as far as the pricing, who's preaching, classes, and other stuff. That would be December 29th, 30th, 31st here in the Atlanta area.
Well, God bless you, and thank you very much, and we will talk to you soon.